Packers are ready for Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears. I'm going to break that down for you guys in this video. If you are new to the channel, I talk everything Packers. So let's jump into it. Man, I am sick and tired of hearing about Caleb Williams and what he may or may not do in this league, or how he's going to just turn this quote unquote rivalry the opposite way in favor of the Chicago Bears. Bring it, is what I say. This article had this to say about Caleb Williams. It says Caleb Williams continues to dominate the NFL rookie rankings. Goes on to say that many still continue to put Caleb Williams in rare conversation in terms of his rookie projections. The latest is from Chad Reuter of NFL.com. He projects that Caleb Williams is going to be the quarterback of the 2024 all rookie team. I say to that, I'll believe it when I see it. Chicago Bears have a history of proving that they are terrible at developing quarterbacks. What do I mean by that? Well, let's take a look at the last 20 years of Chicago Bears history of quarterbacks. They have 25 starting quarterbacks over the last 20 years, which is hilarious to me. Okay. So let's go down and look at a few of these names. It just starts going through some of the names you probably are super familiar with. You got Andy Dalton ranking at 21st of the quarterbacks over the last 20 years in Chicago. You got Justin Fields rounding out there at number 18 for the Chicago Bears, who is now a Pittsburgh Steeler. And the whole trade of that is just hilarious to me. You got Chad Hutchinson's rounding out at number 15th overall of Chicago Bears history over the last 20 years. You got Brian Greasy at number 10. You got Nick Foles rounding out there at number 8. Josh McCown at number 7. And then you've got Sexy Rex Grossman at number 3. Mitch Trubisky at number 2 over the last 20 years of Chicago Bears quarterbacks. And then rounding out there at number 1, you've got Jake Cutler. And it says it's sad, but it is true. The fact that Jake Cutler isn't the best isn't just the best Bears quarterback over the last 20 years. He's the best quarterback in Bears history by a pretty wide margin. He's the franchise leader in wins for starting quarterbacks, attempts, completions, passing yards, and touchdowns. Sorry, I'm sorry. It's just it is hilarious to me that this is Chicago Bears history over the last 20 years of quarterbacks. So what gives me the impression that Caleb Williams is going to come in here and turn things around? Real quickly, let's take a look at the Packers' last 30 years of quarterbacks. You got Brett Favre, Hall of Fame quarterback. Aaron Rodgers, future Hall of Fame quarterback. And then obviously you have now the Jordan Love, which if his numbers are going to continue to be true of what we saw last season, this dude is going to be another future Hall of Fame quarterback in the league, because his numbers were super good last season as his quote unquote rookie season out there for the Packers. In fact, his numbers were so good that he's the numbers he put up last year are better than any Chicago Bears quarterback in history, which obviously, as you can see, is not saying much for the Chicago Bears. But man, when you talk about scripting the best case scenario for Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears and Chicago Bears fans and all of that stuff, you have the number 5 defense led by Montez Sweat last year. Okay, so they were ranked 5th overall. They're only going to get better because, of course, you've got some guys that were young on that roster that are going to just be gelling together in the offseason and all of that. So the Bears defense is a solid defense. Okay, then you add a running back like DeAndre Swift into that running back room. And then you add a guy like Keenan Allen and Rome Odunze into a wide receiver room that already had DJ Moore. And we know the damage that DJ Moore can do out there. And you have Cole Kmet. And then you add a guy like Gerald Everett into that tight end room. And it's hard to imagine, and actually near impossible to imagine, a scenario where the Chicago Bears just don't do well. However, you look at the history, and what is has been there and developing in Chicago. And you've got quarterbacks that are drafted, that are thrown into the fire, that are expected to turn things around for this franchise, and it just doesn't seem to happen. I it's hilarious to me. So let's take a look at what Rashawn Gary had to say about Caleb Williams. Um, it says right here, here's what Rashawn Gary had to say. He says, in the time of the season, that's 12 games in. So by the time the Packers play the Chicago Bears, it's going to be 12 games in. So we'll have some pretty good tape on him, understanding how the Bears want to run their offense through him, or if they're going to be pass heavy by that time, or run heavy by that time. So we're going to have a good understanding and have a better feel of Caleb Williams than we would if we were to play him week one. But he goes on to say, however, if we were to play him in week one, I would love to be that dude that welcomes him into the NFL by just hitting this dude, right? So if you didn't know, the Packers, if you remember, Packers and the Bears met up um week 11 last year. I'm sorry, they meet up at week 11 this year, but the Packers last year met them week earlier in the season. They beat them 38-20. They just killed them last season, and then they beat them going into the playoffs 17-9, triumph over the Bears in week 18, sending them into the playoffs. And then you've got obviously Roma Dunze and Caleb Williams right there leading the Green Bay Packer sucks chant in a bar. I am sure everybody on the Packer team is just obviously that's going to be played probably in the locker room prior to them meeting up with them. But here's what a former quarterback had to say for the Packers had to say about Caleb Williams. He says Sam Darnold, if he starts all season, every game for the Vikings, he's going to throw for more yards than Caleb Williams this season. I think everybody is growing tired of all this hype around Caleb Williams, thinking that this dude is going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league. You're just hearing it out there, especially in the Bears, of course, fandom and Bears community. They want nothing more than for Caleb Williams to turn things around for this franchise. I just don't see it happening. I really don't, even though he is scripted with, just he's inherited a fantastic offense. And it's, again, near impossible for this dude to fail. However, I just don't see this coming together. I don't see a world where Caleb Williams is going to live up to the hype. Leave your comments. Let me know what you think. And as always, go Pack Go.